right, the top 20 90s baseball inserts. I've been wanting to put this list together for a long time, but it's taken me a long time because I wanted to acquire most of these cards to show you. You know, I sometimes scans don't do these 90s inserts justice, so I was able to acquire 75% of the cards on this list, and I'm going to shoot them under a light box, so it will really give these cards the true, you know, justice and shine that they show off. And then before I get into it, I have these requirements for this list, for my list. I'm not going to show any one-on-ones, so no masterpieces. And if a set has only a few players in the insert set, I'm not going to include it on this list. And there will be no autograph inserts. I might do an autograph insert video in the future, but none are going to be shown in this list. And in the case that the inserts have multiple years, I'm only going to call out the most significant. So, for example, Essential Credentials has a couple years where they showed credentials. And yes, I'm calling it inserts, even though a few of these cards are technically parallels, meaning they had a base version of the card, and then the counterpart is known as a parallel. It wasn't like a separate insert. But nowadays, the term insert is much, it's pretty broad, and a lot of people include parallels with the mention of insert. Okay. But before I get into the list, I have three honorable mentions that are worth talking about. First is the 1991 Donruss Elite. This is where 90s inserts started. This is the first really true insert set, if you don't count the 1990 Upper Deck Heroes Reggie Jackson autograph. But these 1991 Donruss Elites has a print run of 10,000. They're all serial numbered, which is a huge deal back then. The Nolan Ryan is actually out of 7,500. But yeah, 10,000 print run sounds like a lot, but back in 1991, you know, Donruss produced a ton of cards. So pulling one of these Donruss Elites were actually pretty tough. Then another honorable mention is the 1997 Upper Deck game jersey. This was the first time that memorabilia game jerseys were ever inserted into baseball sets. But I don't think this should be included in the list because there's only 3 cards. There's Ordonez, Tony Gwynn, and the big one, of course, is Ken Griffey Jr. And then finally, I don't have any cards from the Pacific Company on this list, but it's definitely worth acknowledging the Kramer's Choice inserts. This one's from 1996, the first Kramer's Choice, but there's some other key Kramer's Choice from 98, 99 that are serial numbered, pretty short printed, some are out of 10. But worth mentioning those 3 before getting into the list. All right, so without further ado, at number 20, this is probably the most controversial one on the list because it's not the most expensive. There's certainly cards I didn't include on this list that are more expensive than this one, but I'll get into why I think this deserves to be the top 20. The 1997 Ultra Platinum Medallion. So these came, you can pull a Platinum Medallion from Fleer Ultra, 1 out of 100 packs. But if you wanted to pull your specific player, it would be 1 out of 30,000 packs. They're broken up into 2 series. Series 1 had 300 players. Series 2 had 253 players. And in Series 1, these were printed out of 200 or less. This Barry Larkin example is from Series 1, so there's 200 of these or less. Then in Series 2, there's a print run of less than 150. But this is a pretty big deal insert back in 1997. And these are still hugely collectible, especially in the basketball market, the basketball inserts. But I think why it's worth including this on this list is because there are 553 players in the set. So if you're a player collector, chances are really good that your player has a Platinum Medallion from 1997. And then in later years, in 1998, 99, they started to serial number them. They have a gray kind of silver background to them. But they got numbered out of 99 and out of 100. But it all started in 1997. Okay, and then number 19. The 1997 Donruss Preferred Precious Metals. So these came in 5-card tin packs, and all these cards are made with real precious metals. Each card is printed with one half ounce of either real silver, real gold, this one's made of real gold, or platinum. There's only 100 cards of these made from 1997, and there's also a Donruss Preferred Precious Metals from 1998, and those are out of just 50. There's a print run of 50. So the ones from 1998 are actually typically more valuable because there's half the print run of them. But this is the year that started it all, from 1997, and it's yes, it's gimmicky, but this is just a perfect example of the 90s, because back in the late 90s, starting in like 1996, card companies were really trying to gain market share, and there was so many competitors. There was Donruss, there was Leaf, there was Topps, there was Fleer, there was Upper Deck. So these sort of gimmicky type cards were coming about, but you don't see this anymore. I mean, this is made of real gold. They also came these sort of laminate casings around it. You can kind of see it in the PSA slab. All right, so at number 18, the 1998 Upper Deck Retro Quantum Leap. These cards are at just 50, and they came in lunch boxes, actually. Really cool die-cut design. It has a really interesting refractor foil-like finish. I don't have one of these in hand, but I have owned one at one point. And these have really picked up steam the last couple years. Prices have really gone up on these guys. I would say like 10 or so years ago, I don't think you would put these in the top 20, but I think nowadays these are highly collectible and it would definitely deserve to be in the top 20. All right, number 17, the 1997 SPX Grand Finale. These are such cool looking cards. So in 1994, Upper Deck came out with this 3D hollow view technology, where it gives this 3D looking effect to the player, almost like those Harry Potter portraits from the books. But 1997 was the last year that they used this technology. I really wish some card company would bring this technology back. I think it's really cool. But they call this the Grand Finale, the final version. But what makes this truly collectible is that these are out of just 50. They're not serial numbered, but it's a stated print run of 50. And a lot of these go under the radar because they look so similar to just the regular gold version. So this is the gold version. This is the Grand Finale. Now you can tell the difference because there's gold in the hollow view of the Grand Finale, whereas just the regular gold does not have gold in the hollow view 3D print. All right, so at number 16, this is probably the least flashy card from the 90s in terms of top inserts. The 1999 Fleer Tradition Starting 9. These came from a really cheap set, the 1999 Fleer Tradition set. But these are highly collectible by player collectors because these are out of just 9. There's not a whole lot of inserts from the 90s that are serial numbered to 10 or less. And yeah, just a very simple card. But you got to have one if you're a player collector. Next, at number 15, the 1999 Skybox Molten Metal Fusion Titanium. These are really cool cards. They're laser cut. Little holes basically make a player's face. The Sterlings are out of 500, but the Titanium is out of just 50. And these are really cool cards. Again, I have to just show a scan. I don't have one in person. But these have become hot items for basketball insert collectors, and now, in baseball, these are starting to tick up in price for sure. All right, number 14 is the 1999 Skybox Premium Star Rubies. It's really cool, almost like fish scale-like finish to them. These are typically out of 50. I think there's a few out of 15, but yeah, huge cards in the basketball insert world, and pretty big now in the baseball card insert world. These go for big money in Griffeys and Jeters. And then at number 13 is the Circa Super Rave. These are out of just 25. Circa Thunder was a cheap set, but they really started back in 1996, and they had some parallels called Raves, and those were out of just 150. But then in 1998, they had a Super Rave. So they had the regular, this is what it looked like, just out of 150. But then the Super Rave has a gold lettering shimmer, and of course it's serial numbered to 25 in the back. Would love to pick one of these up someday. But I have to include this on the list because it's a rare card out of just 25, and also because it screams 90s. I mean, the design of these cards look like those trapper keepers that you had as kids. At least I had as a kid. Just these sort of over the top neon scribbly designs. When I think 90s, I definitely think of Circa Thunder. Okay, number 12. The 1998 Bowman's Best Mirror Image Fusion Atomic Refractors. These were tough pulls. You could pull one, what it was, 1 out of 3,237 packs. If you wanted a specific player, it's 1 out of 65,460 packs of 1998 Bowman's Best. There's 20 different cards. Each card is double-sided. Has a star player on one side and a minor up-and-coming star on the other side. I think it's this dual-sided nature that kind of makes this card not in the top 10 because, in person, they're really cool looking. I mean, I have to show a photo of it because I don't own one in person, but here's the 1998 Bowman's Best Atomic Refractor. So it has the same finish as this, but the Fusion Atomic Refractor is die cut and like I said, double-sided. And most of the players on the other side are not, they didn't really turn out. Like Ken Griffey Jr.'s back has Ben Grieve. Although there's a couple that did turn out, like Frank Thomas's back is David Ortiz, and then Chipper Jones has, I believe, Beltre. But these are really cool cards. Kind of underappreciated, I think. I think they're climbing in value now, and I think they'll pick up. But very tough pulls and really cool cards. All right. Finally, the last card before we crack into the top 10. Although you could definitely make an argument for making this top 10. The 1993 Finest Refractors. 1993 is this is the set that started refractors for both basketball and baseball. There's a 241 stated print run of these cards, so pretty rare, definitely rare back in 1993. These are very tough cards to grade. You don't often see PSA 10s or some refractor lines or off-centered. But back in the day, packs of 1993 Finest were going for up to $20, which is a lot of money back then. There are only 999 cases produced. You can pull a refractor about one in every hobby box. And if you wanted to pull a specific player, it'd be one out of every 11,850 packs. So pretty tough to get the player that you want, tough to grade, and just an iconic 90s insert. And that is it for part 1. Stay tuned for part 2, where I'll be showing the top 10 90s inserts from the baseball world.